Yo, yo, yo. Hey, guys, welcome back to the Best Practices Show podcast, where we're shooting live at the ADA SmileCon on the floor. And I've got the OG of all podcasters, Josh Austin.
Have you ever said yo, yo, yo to like open a podcast?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that was...
You know, first of all, like opening a like you know how podcasting goes. You got to have like the zone where you don't think about it.
Yeah,
like
that was it. That was your moment. You just let it flow.
No, I always do yo yo yo.
Oh, you do yo yo yo?
Yeah, if you call me right now, I'll go yo yo.
Okay.
Yo, and my family calls. I go yo. What's up? Yo 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 yo. On the podcast, it's always 3 yos. Yo yo yo. When you call me on my phone, it's yo. Or yo yo.
You just don't have time for the 3.
Well, no, it's kind of like a warm up.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? So my son now, I'll go yo. He goes yo, yo yo.
You need okay.
Yo.
All right. So he's got to get the 2.
Yeah. Sarah, even in the house with the girls. Yo, what's up, yo? So I don't even know where I got it from.
Literally the whitest man in the world, just screaming yo all the time. Like he's on.
Hey, I just it feels natural. Like, what's your opening? What do you do in your when you were in your heydays, when you were getting started?
When I was doing pods?
When you were doing pods.
Bruz.
Bruz.
What is up? Yeah.
Bruz.
Bruz, what is up? Welcome to the Working Interferences podcast. Did on my show. I'm Josh Watson.
I've heard bra.
Yeah.
Bro, brah, bruz.
Bruh. And then if you're in England, it's bruv. Like BRUV, but you say bruh. Bruv.
Bruv.
Yeah.
Bruv. Does it mean the same thing? Like bruv?
Yeah, they're weird. Yeah, it means the same thing. Like those people, like the British people, not to like, I don't want to just immediately start like by...
We can.
Yeah, by like denigrating an entire country of people.
Don't.
Literally like waited in line for 15 hours to see the Queen come by or whatever, you know? Like, all right, I get it. Like, but she was, you have a prime minister, like you have a parliament and all, like...
Right.
I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah.
It's a weird deal. We just don't understand it here.
Maybe we don't.
Yeah.
We don't.
Who's our royal family?
The Kardashians?
Yeah. So we're immediately both in the same.
Well, I mean, of all the influence in the country.
Yeah. I think it's, I think it's them.
I mean, we could start right now and walk this direction and say, who's the president of the United States? Like, do you know this person or this person? And I guarantee you
would know Kim Kardashian
for
than
sure.
Joe Biden.
Yeah. Or Kanye.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
a lot of people talking about
Look,
Kanye West. A
lot
of people.
You're an amazing. We're going to get into this in just a second. Now, I always love talking dental stuff. Maybe we'll save that for later. But you are like one of my favorites of all time because I don't even know what we're going to talk about, and I enjoy the heck out of it.
We've already talked about the Queen. We've talked about yo. We've talked about like it.
Absolutely, and you are. Where we'll go. Yeah, so I do want to. Maybe we'll start here. You're going to do a hands-on today. We'll just throw that into the room, and then we'll quickly go on to the other side. What are you talking about today?
Hands-on posterior composite, right? Getting more efficient with hands-on composite, and so. You look at data, hands-on composite, or composite restorations are 3/4 of what we do in this country, right?
Okay.
Out of every 4 restorations placed, 75% of them, 3 out of the every 4 are direct composites.
Okay.
And so, reimbursement rates aren't going up. You know, everyone's either flat or taking a trim on their reimbursement rates. So in order for us to stay more profitable with inflation, all that stuff, like we got to get faster. We got to get more efficient, right? And so tips and tricks on how to get faster at posterior composite, right? The thing we do the most. Very nice.
And if you're looking for great education that is spot on and funny and entertainment.
Go see Bob Marchis.
But no. This is you.
You can come to my room.
You're wildly entertaining, like wildly entertaining. Yeah. You make education fun, and I enjoy whether you're talking about social media, posterior composites. You tackle the serious issues like mental health, and you could still make it uplifting, knowledgeable, helpful.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
It's awesome. It's awesome, and I also know that you and Detola are the two that. Of all people that have ever entered dentistry that could be stand-up comedians.
So there is a dentist who is a stand-up, by the way. We should just say his name. David Galler, the American Academy of Clear Aligners.
And I told you I've never met him, but he's a funny guy.
Yeah, very funny.
Okay.
Very funny.
And I want you to tell the story. So you actually opened up for Jim Gaffigan. You got to tell the whole story. Okay. So Galler, I didn't know was a comedian. Yeah. He actually runs an incredible organization, American Academy of Clear Aligners. Yep. Okay. Let's start there. Yeah. Tell me what you just tell them what you told me earlier.
So I went to one of Dr. Galler's courses on Invisalign called Reengage. It's an amazing course. And he does a lot of comedy in it, kind of like Detola and I do when we do programs. And so we immediately connected and we started talking and he had like seen my stuff somewhere else. And so he got like, hey, come into the organization. We'll have you doing some programs and stuff like that. It'll be great. And so he has this big meeting every year called the Gallerite Reunion Conference, the GRC, which is basically the meeting of the AACA. And it's in Vegas every year. And opening night, he always has a comedian. So last year it was Russell Peters, and this year it was going to be Jim Gaffigan. Well, Galler's like running that whole meeting, right? Yeah. And he does lectures during the meeting, and he like does this. He opens for whatever the comedian is. So it's a heavy lift for him. It's a lot. And at some point, just casually, I mentioned to him, if you ever need help, like opening for the comedian, it would be my life's dream. Yeah. And I never heard anything. And then the schedule comes out, and there it is on the schedule. You know, comedy night featuring Dr. David Galler, Dr. Josh Waston, and Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah, that's how you found out.
Yeah, and I woke up to like 37 Instagram messages of like, oh my God, what is this? And I don't know what this is. I have no idea. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's how it came about. So I had 20 minutes. So Galler on the night of the deal, it's the opening night of the conference, Galler did like 40 minutes. 30 or 40 minutes, and then I did 20 minutes, and then Gaffigan came out and did an hour. And so,
okay, back up to the 20 minutes. Yeah. So like, do you prepare for it? Do you have your notes? Like, are you using some of your classic stuff with some, you know?
Yeah. So I had stuff, but like I didn't know how to I'd never done it before, right? So I didn't know. I had to figure out like how to lay it out and how to get it together. And I wanted to do some stuff specifically related to like Invisalign and clear aligners. So I did probably 10 minutes of like Invisalign jokes, which is like, the listeners are probably like, this doesn't seem all that right, but there's a lot of like humor potentially there from Invisalign. There's a lot of funny things that happen with Invisalign. So so Mike Dottola and I got together one weekend and in a hotel in LA, and we went to the Comedy Store at night for inspiration and watched, you know, real professionals do it. And then during the day we would write this set. And so over about a day and a half, we wrote 20 minutes.
So you had a pro secret meeting with a pro writer to help you.
And more like two amateurs who are trying our best. Yeah. And so, we came up with about 95% of it at that meeting. Okay. There was one joke that I was like, there's a joke here. I can't figure out the punchline, but I'll figure it out. Yeah. And it actually was my wife, Andrea, who gave me the like idea that turned it into what ended up working. And so we were walking the dog, and she's like, all right, are you ready? Like, I was like, there's this one joke I can't figure out. And so she's like, all right, well, tell it to me. And so she came up with like the little nugget that turned into like what the punchline of the joke was. And so the day comes.
How many people?
Probably 2,000, something like that. It's at the like Encore Theater at the Wynn, which is, I mean, it's a big theater, right? It's a big, like it has a balcony, and I mean, it's, you know, it's not like a hotel room convention, you know, or a big ballroom at a hotel. It's like an actual theater.
Yeah. Now I'm nervous for, I'm sweating right now.
I was super nervous.
Okay. So when you're looking at the bill, you know, you're looking at Galler's going first. Here's you. Yeah. And then you got Gaffigan, who is amazing. So
Hall of Famer.
Walk us through that whole process.
First off, so Gaffigan is a clean comedian. So, I mean, he doesn't like use profanity. Right. He'll like talk about things that are maybe not quite as clean, but he does it in a clean way, if that makes sense, right? And so there was a very specific recipe for words that we could not say, which I could say them here just so you know, but you're looking at me panic, so I'm not going to do that. But it's the words that you it's immediate words you think.
Right.
The one exception was Dr. Galler's from New York.
Yeah.
And Dr. Galler really can't function like without oxygen and without saying the F word.
The F-bomb. Like, but he can say it in a way that, or not?
No, I mean, it's New Yorker. He says it in a very New Yorker way, right?
Okay.
So Galler negotiated that we each got to say the F word twice.
Ooh, okay.
So you had to be very strategic about it. But there were some things that it was just like, we can't talk about these few things.
Okay.
So the day comes, and fly to Vegas and get there, and you know, we go to dinner before, and I'm like, I'm not hungry at all because it's just you know, my mouth is already dry and I'm already I'm just super nervous. And so we kind of get to the venue and get into like settled, and you know, the people are starting to fill in and the theater's filling up. And so I'm backstage in what they call the green room, and this theater actually had 3 green rooms.
Okay.
I was in the smallest green room because obviously, like, I'm the zero.
Now, is it actually green? Like,
no, it's not green. That's green there.
Why do they call
it the green room?
So what is it? It's just like a little tiny.
Yeah, it's like a little, like, there's like a couch and a TV and a bottle of water, right? That's the little one I was in, was like literally the staff break room for the people that worked at the theater. And then Galler had a bigger one that had like a full setup. It had like a shower in it, like a makeup vanity and that kind of stuff. And then Gaffigan had this like huge 2-room suite that was his green room. And in Gaffigan's green room, there's like ham sandwiches and buckets of Heineken and all. It was catered, right? So we're sitting back there, and I kind of knew the beats of Galler's set. We had gone over it a few times, so I kind of knew what was what, when he was going to go, and like what his beats were. And so I knew when it was like the 3 or 4 minute mark, that was my time to get up and then go to the side stage.
Okay.
So I'm standing side stage, and at this point, like I'm nervous, but I'm not like shaking in my boots nervous. And so I feel there's no one else back there side stage. It's just me. And I feel someone walk up behind me, and I turn around, and it's Jim Gaffigan. And it's immediate, like my jaw drops. And he says, "Hey, are you Josh?" And I was like, there's a Hall of Fame. Yeah. I mean, it was it was like the hottest girl in high school coming up to you, and, like asking you to borrow $1. It's like, yes, absolutely. So it's like, yeah, and it was he didn't know who I was. It was just somebody had given him a rundown of the night, and he saw that the person going on before him was Johnny. So I'd worn a suit, and so he said, and he's wearing like a stained T-shirt and a pair of like khaki corduroys from Kmart,
Yeah, he had just finished making macaroni and cheese for his kids, and like,
very, I don't know, disheveled, just which is kind of his vibe.
Yeah,
and I was like, yeah, and he says, "Nice suit," and so I said, "Thanks." I didn't know what to wear. This is my first time. I just saw him like, oh God, this is your first. Like, so he's immediately thinking like, oh, this guy's going to eat it up there. And now I'm going to have to come out to a cold crowd.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, this is your first time? I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, you'll do great. And so then a couple minutes later, it's like, all right, Dr. Galler's like, him from Gallerite Chat 9 on WeChat. Everything David Galler does is on WeChat. No, WhatsApp. WhatsApp. And so he's like, I'm on Gallerite 9 on WhatsApp. I'm from Dental Economics. I'm from Speaking for ACA. Please welcome to the stage my good friend from San Antonio, Texas, Dr. Josh Waston. So I go out, and I kind of black out for the next 20 minutes. Like, I don't remember a lot of things. I remember a few things, but I finished the set. I did know this. I knew that the first joke that I had was kind of the barometer for how it was going to go. Because if they didn't like the first joke, and I don't know if you know this about me, Kirk, but I'm a little bit snarky.
Yes.
Have you ever caught that?
No, tell us more.
Yeah, okay.
Tell us more.
So it's a little bit, it's a, I don't know, a little David Spade, kind of snarky humor. And so if they didn't like that first one, they weren't going to like the next 18 minutes.
Right.
And so the first joke murdered. It was awesome. And my wife, Andrew, was sitting in the front row, and she told me later, she's like, I saw all the tension leave your body.
Yeah.
After that first joke hit.
Because you're like the kid at Christmas that he gets the first laugh, and then he goes a little bit further. You're kind of relaxed, and you're like, okay. So
now I was like, all right, good. We're on the same vibe. We're on the same vibe. We're on the same wavelength. And so I end up finishing the set. The last joke I had is a joke I've done in my lectures for a long time, or for the past year, and it always does well. And so I finish, and I walk off, and the person standing side stage is Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah.
And I'd been looking kind of out the side of my eye, like peripheral vision, and he stayed there the entire time. So this is a guy who's getting paid, God knows how, 6 figures, I'm sure, or high 5 figures to be there. Like star, right? He's a Hall of Fame comedian.
Right.
I assumed that he was just going to hang out in the green room the whole time and not like fraternize with the, unclean masses. No, he stood there side stage and watched both sets.
You watched Galler's set.
He watched part of Galler's set, yeah.
Okay.
And because he got there during Galler's set, watched all of my set. And as I walked off the stage, he was the first person standing there. He had a hand out. He shook my hand and he said, "Nice set." And I'm sure he says that to every person who opens for him.
Yeah.
But in that moment, like, he knew that it was my first time.
Yeah.
And he like took that time to like have that 1-2 second connection with me. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, and it's probably something that he didn't think anything about, but like, I will literally carry that moment with me until the day I die.
That's so cool.
It's unbelievable.
I love that. I'm so happy for you. Yeah. And as a Gaffigan fan, like, he's one of those people that I would guess, and you're the only person I know that's met him. I love meeting people that just, what you see is who they are.
That's exactly him.
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no separation.
Yeah. And he's not, he's a Hall of Fame comedian. He's had multiple network television shows. He's on CBS Sunday Morning every week. Like, he could be a total diva.
Right.
Not at all. My wife saw him in the spa the next day. He remembered her from
really
standing backstage with me.
Oh, that's so cool.
And he said, hey, your husband or your guy, I think he said your guy did good last night.
That's awesome. That is so cool.
Do that? Like,
yeah.
I don't know. So maybe it's because they're celebrities, like we expect far less of them. And so when they just like act like normal human beings, we're like surprised, but there was some authenticity there. And so it really was like, it was a live stream.
Yeah.
I remember being 11 years old and getting Comedy Central added to like our cable package or whatever and experiencing it for the first time. I think it's when it launched. And I remember like early on, like being 11 years old and seeing a Howie Mandel stand-up special and thinking to yourself like, God, I would love to do that one.
Yeah.
But there's no way I have the talent or skill to do that.
Yeah, I have no doubt we were watching the same thing. My dad used to take the cable from our house and pirate it from the box at the corner. I'm like, Dad, that's their box. He's like, don't worry.
It's fine.
You know, it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. And so to get to live that dream, even if it's for 20 minutes, you know, and in retrospect, there's no reason for me to be nervous. It was the biggest layup of all time.
Yeah.
So it was a room full of dentists, and I have like 10 years of experience making dentists laugh. They're in Vegas. Yeah. They're there to have a good time. It's 9:00 at night and drinking for the last 3 hours. And I'm one of them.
Yeah.
They wanted me to succeed. So it was a layup, right? There's no reason to be nervous. There's almost no way to bomb, right?
Yeah.
But it was a chance to live a dream. And I say all the time, do you remember the movie Field of Dreams?
I do.
And there's a character in that movie. It's one of my favorite movies. There's a character named Moonlight Graham. And Moonlight Graham comes up because he got one at bat in the major leagues. And then he never got to play again.
Yeah.
And I remember like, you know, somebody in the movie saying something like, aren't you angry or like, don't you wish you had more chance or whatever? He's like, no, I got to live my dream.
Yeah.
You know, and it was one at bat. And so that was my one at bat, you know, and it'll probably never happen again. And that's fine. Not a ton of dental meetings have stand-up comics, surprisingly. And so it'll probably never come up. I'll probably never get another chance to do it. And that's totally fine. I'm totally happy with it.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that I got to do it once was amazing. And I'm bad about celebrating. I don't know if we've talked about this before, but I don't celebrate things. If something happens, like we had a great CE course yesterday, and it's like packed room, sold out room, and it was like, oh, you know, great course. Like, yeah, you know, I don't know, whatever. It was easy, you know, whatever. Trying to like find some way to diminish it because I don't like to take the compliment. And Andrea, my wife, had basically told me, like, we're celebrating this. Yeah. And so she was like, we're going to get like a champagne or a cocktail when this is done. So like stopped at like the hotel bar that's like closest to the bank of elevators that we were staying in. So no rhyme or reason to it. It's just where we stopped and ordered a glass of champagne or a cocktail, whatever it was. And we're standing there, the bartender brought it over and he was like, these are paid for. And it was someone down the bar had been in the deal and seen the set. And paid for our drinks.
That's awesome.
And he came over and he was like, hey, I just want to let you know that's awesome. I'm like, you know, you're so courageous to have gotten up there. I would have never had the courage to do that. So it was great. Yeah. And then we enjoyed it, our nice drink. And I remember Andrea went to bed and I was still kind of adrenaline going. And so I couldn't sleep. And so at some point I just went up and went in the bathroom of the hotel room and I closed the door and I just sat on the floor and like cried for 45 minutes. Which it wasn't like it was weird. It wasn't a sad cry. It was like, it was just this moment of like intense, like appreciation for the fact that I got to do this thing that I had always wanted to do.
I'm so really freaking proud of you. You have to celebrate that.
It was so amazing.
I think it's incredible. Like I would have died. Like
you would have been fine.
No. Like you are a pro. Layup. You are a pro, and that I have no doubt that will not be your last time.
I'm a pro at dental speaking. I'm not a pro at stand-up. You know, and so that was like. It was a whole new. It was also nice to not be burdened by the idea of having to educate as well.
Right.
And I don't mean that like pejoratively on dental CE, but with dental CE, like I can't just screw around for 40 minutes or 30 minutes. Like I have to do some content. Yeah, I'm gonna make some jokes in, but it can't be all about the jokes. With this, it got to be all about the jokes.
Yeah.
And that's what that was. That having that sort of restrictor plate taken off was fun.
Yeah.
And really fun. But it also is really hard.
Right.
And 20 minutes of dental lecture is like nothing. It goes by so fast. Yeah. 20 minutes of stand-up is so long. It is so long. It is so much time. And I remember I kind of wrote it all out and then had it on like note cards like you have in front of you, and then recorded it like with my voice memo, and I would just like listen to it over and over and over and over. I probably listened to it 1,000 times. And I didn't have it. I never memorized it. So I had like a little sheet up there with kind of like a song list of like this like kind of group of jokes, like 3 words to like, okay, that's what's next. That's what's next. That's what's next. And so it was kind of like a set list. And so, yeah, I mean, I could do it again right now, but I would need just some prompting, for it.
Okay.
Just to remember what it was.
So we've got a good 30 minutes. We're going there. So
I forgot to say, so I remember Galler had negotiated the fact that we could say 2 F words.
Yeah.
So one of them was easy. I knew where that one was. And then I realized about 80% of the way through that I only used 1. So I had like a pocket F word. And so it's like, I'm coming up to the last joke. And I'm like, well, it's kind of like, I got these timeouts in a football game. Like, we'll use them. They just go away. It's not like you get to. So it's like, I might as well use it.
Yeah.
And so I found a spot where it like made sense in the last joke, and it worked really well. So I used both of my F words.
Good job.
Yeah.
Good job.
I mean, it's like, he took the time to negotiate these. I should at least use them.
Right. Is there anywhere where we can see it online? Your 20 minutes?
So, yeah, no, it was totally not recorded at all. That was part of Gaffigan's rider.
Okay.
A rider is like when you sign a deal to do something like that. It's like all the demands, right? So, all like the stipulations at the event people need to meet. And so one of them was just like Brene yesterday. They said like no photos or videos. That was the same thing. And so we just made it. I don't think Galler or I would have minded had someone videoed us, but Gaffigan was pretty adamant, and so there was actually security from the theater that if they saw people recording, they would not just escort them from the show, they would escort them from the hotel and from the conference.
Wow.
So it was that was a pretty severe kind of thing for Gaffigan. Was just like, this can't be recorded.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Now I want you, because I love this stuff. So you're a pro, you go, then you watch Gaffigan. I love Gaffigan.
Yeah.
You stood on the side. You basically traded places.
Yeah, I stood side stage and got to watch.
And you watched him.
Watch it.
Tell
one
us
of the greatest living comedians.
Why he's so unique. So take us through his set.
So he did an hour, and he did 20 minutes on diarrhea. It's just like, seems super crude, but it was just like really smart the way that he did it, and very well done. And it seems like not tasteful, but he has a way about him that makes something like that way more approachable or tasteful. I don't even know the right word, but. And then he did like 15 minutes on bell towers. Like,
I mean, how would you even make that
that's
funny?
The thing is, like, he can make literally anything into 10 minutes, which is just such a crazy skill.
Yeah. He's an excellent storyteller. Like, you're riveted.
A lot of stories. And he's really great at callbacks. He had about 3 really good callbacks. So callbacks like where you say something about one thing earlier on in the set, and then another joke kind of touches on it 15 minutes later. And callbacks are always great, but they're hard to do.
Right.
Because it's hard to plant that seed and then bring it back around. It's like it's skillful to do a callback.
Yeah.
And he had like 3 really great callbacks. It was great.
Yeah.
He's a Hall of Famer.
Right.
He's a Hall of Famer. So and he's super nice. And so it was great. That's people ask me all the time. Like I show those photos that I showed you in pretty much every program I do.
Yeah.
And people ask me like, well, like, was he really nice? I think, yeah, he was really nice. He was very nice and authentic. Like, didn't have to do any of that stuff. Totally did him anyway, right? So,
well, as you know, I'm a big fan of yours. Like, this is not the first time you've done this. You did something pretty unique at Voices of Dentistry too. So, like, I want you to talk about that.
Yeah.
Now, a couple things about Voices of Dentistry. it's one of your favorite things.
It's one of my favorite meetings.
I mean, and I want you to talk about why. And then you did something special with Detola this year.
Yeah.
And was it in January?
January, February. I can't remember exactly. It's always like towards the end of January, early February. So it's kind of in between Seattle Study Club Symposium and Chicago Midwinter. So it's like somewhere in there.
First, talk about what it is. What's Voices of Dentistry?
So Voices of Dentistry is it's the dental podcast meeting, right?
Okay.
And so it's run by 4 guys: Justin Moody from Implant Pathway, Mark Costas from
Dentalpreneur.
Yeah, Dentalpreneur.
Yeah.
And is it dental support specialist or?
Yeah, he does a great job.
His consulting company.
Yep.
Coaching company. And then it is Alan Mead from Very Dental Podcast.
Yep.
And then Jason Lipscomb from the Dental Hacks Facebook group. And they put this meeting on, and it's...
How many years have they been doing this?
God.
4 or 5 years.
No, more than that.
Really?
6 or 7 now?
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like it's been going back a while. You know, the first meeting was 2017.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess 5 or 6. And so it's it's one of those things where it's kind of a small, tight-knit community of the podcasters and then the people who really like devour those podcasts. And so it's a group of people that you kind of end up knowing. It's the same people, same-ish people every year. And so it's just a comfortable space for me. And so that was the first place that I ever shared my mental health journey. And that was in February of 2020. And it was literally like I had an hour and I did 40 minutes about other stuff, and then the last 20 minutes was this mental health thing.
Yeah.
And I never gotten feedback about anything like I got about that 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then of course the world shut down in March of 2020.
Yeah.
And I had time on my hands, and I had, there's this crazy guy named Kirk, and he did this marathon broadcast session that started during COVID. I don't know if you've heard of this guy.
No, never.
And he was like on the Zoom for thousands of dental people every day for months.
It was a long time. I don't know how long it was.
And that was such a great thing because it was a great workshop for me to work some material out.
You were amazing. Like, it was amazing how you showed up.
I would just jump in like every week or every other week and do something. You were on it every freaking day.
There's a difference between you and I. You had to present content. I was just
no, but you had to
all I had to do was yo. So
no,
is that a call?
I mean, with like that is what you guys did with that is. When I look back on it, and in the middle of it, you're just like, we're just doing something, right? But like when you look back on it, like how many days consecutively that you did that, and like you basically did it until every state opened back up. It's like,
well, it was a high uncertainty.
Yeah.
Like the level of uncertainty was crazy. I don't do well with that. And you also gave voice to a lot of things as we were hearing stories.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is just not. And I mean, personally, I had a panic attack, and I wasn't in the best place, and so we needed somebody to put some frameworks, some science, some thought processes.
I'm a big sort of believer in it's like just right place, right time. And it was just like the idea for that messaging and sharing my journey came at the right time.
Yeah,
right? And it came at a time where I had the time to take this 20 minutes that I had out. I remember I did a master class of this.
Yes, you did. It was amazing.
It was early on, one of the earlier ones. And I didn't have enough to fill the 90 minutes. So I had to scramble to find 10 minutes. So I think I showed the video that I had made of the 3 famous podcasters that talked about me on the show.
Yep.
Because I didn't have anything else to put. And I was like, it's an hour 15 and I needed to be an hour 30. And now it's I do 4 hours on it, right?
Yeah.
It's grown out to this whole 4-hour lecture. So
yeah,
it was but if I didn't have, what did we call that? The COVID conference? I forgot what we called that.
I think we called it the COVID conference.
Yeah. If I didn't have that, I wouldn't have had the ability to work that material out. And that's the thing, it's you see a stand-up comedian, right? You see Jim Gaffigan tell a story, right? Well, that's it sounds super off the cuff, or it sounds unrehearsed, he's just saying it off the top of his head. And he said it 1,000 times or 150 times to different audiences. And every time he does it, he says it a little different way, and he figures out what way works the best, right? So you got to workshop that stuff.
Right.
And if it wasn't that COVID conference, I would have never been able to work a lot of that stuff out and have that presentation now be sort of as polished as it is. So a lot of us are very thankful for what you did, not only in helping people get to eat and have a distraction from all that's going on and be connected to a community and all that. And then for those of us that were in the content world, you gave me a place to work stuff out that I wouldn't have ever had before, right? And so that was amazing.
I'm equally grateful thank you for showing up. But then going back to the not celebrating thing, and I'll celebrate. I mean, you're freaking damn good at what you do. Damn good.
Thank you.
So much so the Greg Louganis, what you do, what you don't understand what you do is you put you burn memories. The Greg Louganis walking out to the pool with the phone thing. I was laughing so hard, and this is a later masterclass that you did. I actually had to mute myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, that is freaking hilarious.
That's where I stripped down to my underwear.
Yes, and you were looking at your phone.
Yeah, and my phone fell in the pool, and I had to jump in after it. So my wife makes fun of me because I can't believe we're talking about this. I don't like to be naked.
Yeah.
Like even with her. So.
But you were naked on the mask. Well, I mean, essentially. Yeah. I mean, so you had your skivvies on. Yeah.
She calls me a never-nude, which is a reference to an old show with who's the guy that's on Smartless?
Oh, not Jason Bateman.
Yeah, Jason Bateman. Arrested Development. It's a reference to Arrested Development. There was a guy in there who's called a never-nude who just didn't like to ever take his clothes off. And so that's me. And she was like, I cannot believe that you will show this video where you strip down to your underwear. She's like, you don't take your shirt off for anybody, and yet you'll do it. I was like, yeah, because I can get a laugh out of it.
Yeah. Well, you got to laugh at it. It wasn't a gratuitous story that was a wild tangent. It was like
kind of a wild tangent. It's a little bit of a wild tangent.
No. You brought it right.
The idea is that we are addicted to this technology, right?
Yes.
And that's probably not a good thing. And here's me. Like
outside with your dog.
Sober, rational man who literally dives into a pool in January to save his phone. And
well, we were there with you. Like, your point was super clear. And I think about you in the morning when I'm like, okay, I should probably look up. I'm not going to get the 9.9 from the judges here on the dive.
That's another thing. So that you mentioned Greg Louganis, which is a very 30 to 50-year-old person reference.
Right.
He competed in the 1992 Olympics or something.
A long time ago.
No one has heard of Greg Louganis in years.
No.
My specialty is references from the 1990s. During the stand-up set, I had a very specific Alanis Morissette reference.
Yeah.
And I think I said that is if you are not 38 to 45 years old, you have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah,
absolutely. Dennis Miller is one of my favorite comedians, and 35% of what Dennis Miller says, I'm like, I have no idea what that is. I don't know who Pliny the Elder is, but it's still funny.
You are, to me, what Dennis Miller is.
There
are many things. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to be thinking about this.
He went a little crazy, though.
He did. He did.
A little Trumpy. He got a little into the right-hand side of things, so pretty far on the side.
But I haven't even heard Dennis Miller.
I think he's I think he does corporate gigs now, which is sweet. But I told you earlier that one of my achievements of the last 6 months is that I worked on a Trump impersonation a lot.
Well, give it to us.
A lot of people talking about best practices. A lot of people. Best practice. Kirk Behrendt is tremendous, doing tremendous things. I tell you what, you want to change your practice? You get Kirk Behrendt. Like you wouldn't believe.
Your wife loves that.
She hates me. Because it was literally for 3 weeks just walking around the house. A lot of people.
Would you play it back and say, I gotta get that down?
Yeah, so Dana Carvey, I'm a huge fan of Dana Carvey.
Dana Carvey's amazing.
You and I are kind of, so you the SNL of
love it.
89 through 93 is the thing about SNL is whatever years you watched it formatively is that, in your opinion, that's the best year. So I talk to people 74 or what, it's no, those are terrible. And so it's whatever year you were growing up and you watched it, that's the year that's the best. But for me, it's Dana Carvey and Mike Myers and David Spade and Farley and Sandler. And that to me is and so Carvey talks a lot about with an impression, you got to find the hook. You got to find the one thing that gets you into it.
Yeah.
And so for me with Trump, it's a lot of people. And so that's and it's the guttural part of it, because that's he kind of starts guttural and then its cadence is weird.
Yeah.
And it's just patterns.
Yeah.
It's just patterns of a lot of people talking about whatever.
Yeah.
It's tremendous. And then you wouldn't, and it's everything he ties to that same pattern. And so once you find that beat, that pattern, then it makes it easy. But it's working that stuff out is what's really hard.
Yeah.
So
who else can you impersonate?
That's pretty much it.
Come on.
No, that's pretty much it.
Do you have anybody else? Anybody we would know in dentistry?
Oh, in dentistry? No.
Come on.
Yeah. No, I've tried to work on a Michael Cohen. But I'm also
terrified to do it.
Yeah. When am I going to do this? And if I did it on stage at Seattle Study Club, he might have me murdered.
Yeah.
I did it. They had a thing called Rising Stars Forum.
Yeah. How did that go? You were there.
Yeah. I did something I did kind of a keynote on the main stage there. I did a 30-minute version of the mental health talk. And I had a little joke about him in it that he told me afterwards that he didn't love.
Yeah.
But in the moment when he came afterwards on stage, gave me a big hug, all this stuff, he's like, don't do that one again.
Yeah.
All right.
He's an amazing human being, obviously, and I think if you set him up for it, he enjoys it.
Yeah.
I did one thing for, and I didn't know if he was going to go for it. We we were sitting in chairs and we were doing the referral conversation, and he would say something and a bubble would appear above his head. He was really thinking. Yeah. And
did he know what was in the bubbles?
Yeah, I told him what was going to be he's like, I can go with this, because he doesn't do well with not predictable. And it was really funny. And he helped me with the script. Yeah. He's like, no, you're going to want to say this. And I was like, oh my gosh.
He's a genius.
He really is.
Todd, do you know Todd Williams?
Todd is the speaker in the hotels.
Yeah, he's like a trainer for Four Seasons.
He's amazing.
So he
Four Seasons. Yeah,
he has a story that he tells. It's like this. He was working at the Four Seasons in Maui, I think it was, and he has the story where there's this blind woman who was like stayed there. They stayed there like every year, and so the staff knew them, and they knew like the husband was like the capable person who like guided the blind wife around, and so she had like he was going to get the car, and he like put her on this bench, and a gardener was there like doing gardening on the hibiscus or whatever. I'm not a botanist. And the gardener was doing some work on the bushes or the plants or the flowers. And so the gardener like sees this blind woman sitting there who's a frequent guest. And he goes and he asks her, he's like, would you like me to tell you about what's growing here? And he guided her to the garden and told her about all the different flowers. And Todd just was watching this and found this like this very touching moment, right?
Yeah.
And Todd is just this game recognized game, one of the most talented storytellers I've ever seen in my life. For sure. And it's just like this 18-minute story with these intricate details is so well done. And so Todd came up to me after Rising Stars, and he had seen the mental health talk, and he was like, I mean this in all honesty. I'm serious when I tell you this. It's literally the best thing I've ever seen.
That's awesome.
And so that was, I'm not good about celebrating things, and that was like kind of one of those moments. And
we
he
gotta
actually
celebrate.
Texted me later, and it was like with the same sentiment, and I showed it to my wife, and it was just like, she was like, take a second, breathe 4 times, let this sink in and celebrate it. Yeah. And so it's like, that's I'm just bad at that.
I want to ask you that particular component, but I want to say this about Todd, and I don't know him very well. I've met him several times. And
you guys are like on the same corner a little bit with Seattle Study Club.
No, he's on a whole nother level. Like when it's electrifying. Yeah. I am in his, he is an excellent speaker and a superhuman being. Like, he's damn good at what he does. Yeah. And I actually would love, like, of all the people I've seen speak, he's one of those people I'd love to see work. Yeah. Take your friend to work day.
Yeah. You like to follow him?
I would. Yeah. I mean, he opens up Four Seasons, and he's not real fan. He's not a big fan of, so he's a Four Seasons guy, so he doesn't like the, what's the next tier down?
I don't know. I was going to say Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah. So he'll say
next tier down, really? Well, I kind of feel like they're on the same level.
I know. He would be very clear. He calls it RC. He doesn't refer.
He won't even call it by their name?
He doesn't even call it by a real name. And he's like, I was in another hotel. I'll just tell you it was RC, and I put my finger up here and I found a little dust, and I'm like, oh wow. Battle of the hotels.
That is like very very specific. I'm obsessed with like weird, and hotels are different because I understand brand loyalty with hotels,
right?
But I'm always obsessed with like weird brand loyalty guys, like guys who their identity is like, I drive a pickup truck, not just any pickup truck, a Ford pickup truck.
Yeah.
Like, you'll never
don't even
see me
say the word Chevy.
Driving a Chevy. Like, this is a weird hill to die on. Like, I have a friend who's like that with Perrier. Do not give him a Pellegrino.
Oh,
it's sparkling water. Calm down, my man. Like, it's what do you?
You know what I would do? I would put them both in a glass.
Sommelier. Like, you're never going to tell the difference.
Do the Pepsi challenge. See if you can tell.
It's so stupid. Like, weird brand loyalty is very funny to me.
It is funny.
And so I guess hotels are a little bit different, but like because if I'm looking at a city and like, oh, there's a Ritz, oh, there's a Four Seasons, whichever one, it's fine.
Right. It doesn't matter.
Whichever one is like the cheapest or the closest, or whichever one has a room, I'm not going to be able to know the difference.
Yeah.
But like, it's very funny to me that he's like, very specifically. Here, you gotta.
Do I have a fly?
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Should I use my gnome?
Yeah, you got. Yeah, there's a weird SmileCon sock gnome.
Well, we got these gnomes. They were delivering. No, I don't.
Oh.
Kate gave it to us. She's so sweet. I don't even know what I'm going to do with it.
Take this home?
No, you can have it. We're giving it away as No, it's our podcast gift for the day.
I'm good.
No, I really want you to have it.
I have a bag. So I did not fly here, but I have to fly home. I have an interesting story about that.
Okay, I want to hear the story, but I have 2 more things to say. Yeah. The reason I would want to go to work with Todd is he opens up he opens
like the first month or whatever of opening a Four Seasons. He's like the person in charge of training everybody. So
here's my question: how do you get 100 people at this level?
Well, and you talk about it as well. Like you talk about this is an easy, like, identifiable thing for most people, fast food restaurants, right?
Right.
You go to like a Wendy's or a Burger King, and it's just like, oh my God, it's just a horrible experience all the way around. Then you go to Chick-fil-A, right?
Yeah.
And it's not that, like, so where does Chick-fil-A find these people that are this amazing? Like, how do they find these amazing people to work for them? And it's the idea that, like, they hire the same people that Burger King or Wendy's hires.
For sure.
It's just that their systems are different, right? And so it's the system makes the experience. The system makes the service, right?
Well, and I would agree with you, and I would say part of their systems are core values. Ask any kid.
Yeah.
Do you work here? Yeah. How important are core values? They'll go, we talk about it constantly.
At Chick-fil-A, you mean?
At Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're huge on that. Eddie V's Steakhouse, anything that's at a higher level.
Sorry, my first date with my wife, Andrew, was at a Eddie V's Steakhouse.
Ask any server at an Eddie V's, how important are core values? They'll go, we talk about it every day. Yeah. Like, they don't stop talking about it.
At our first date, the waitress was giving us, like, their sort of rundown of their drink menu.
Yeah.
And she said that we have a special tonight on Dos Equis beer.
And you're like, I'm from Texas.
Dos Equis?
Dos Equis. Is that new? Is that a French? Is that a French version? Yeah. So now I just learned Eddie V's was where your first date.
Yeah. Eddie V's in Austin.
Which is excellent.
It's great.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
The restaurant you took me to in Austin was amazing.
Where did we go?
No, you took me to a Mexican restaurant that was complete.
In San Antonio.
No. Yeah. In San Antonio. So I'll set the stage.
La Fonda on Main was the name of the restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah.
La Fonda. That was it. So I'll set the stage. Walk in. It's completely packed. It was like a scene in Goodfellas. Yeah. Oh, Dr. Austin, good to see you.
No,
they did one of these. Somebody grabs a table with a tablecloth and they set it up right by the fireplace.
It was,
plates come down.
Yeah. That's a great place. That's a really great garden outside.
Rindler met us there.
Yeah.
Okay, so go back to this. I want to ask you about the celebrating thing.
Yeah.
Just explain why. Like you say, I think this is a good thing for everybody.
So this is something I talk about with my therapist often.
Okay.
Is that I don't celebrate stuff. And she's like, you have to celebrate. And Brene talked about it a little bit yesterday, right?
And tell us why.
About, like, internal dialogues with ourselves, right? And so Brene talked about your internal dialogue about yourself.
Yes.
Like, you should talk to yourself the way you talk to somebody that you love and respect.
Love it.
And that is not that's not my internal dialogue system. And so that's a huge thing. And so I think that's part of it, right? Is if someone, like, so I don't like to celebrate my birthday, right? And part of it is, like, everybody has a birthday. Like, it's not that big a deal, right?
Right.
And so I don't like to be the center of attention on something if it's not based on, like, some skill or merit or something that I did. It's like just the idea of being born, celebrating that to me. And that has sort of kind of, I don't know, seeped into other parts of my life, but it's an internal dialogue thing, right? It's the conversations that I have with myself.
Right.
And when you have these negative dialogues with yourself about yourself, it makes it to where you marginalize successes and you overinflate the failures.
Right.
And that skews this internal, dialogue you have. And so you're kind of cutting yourself off at the knees. And I'm speaking about this like I'm some expert and like I fixed it. And it's like still a problem.
But wouldn't you agree? It's a problem for everybody. I've heard this
I know a lot of people that celebrate their birthday month. They don't seem to have any problem. And like, birthday month.
Hey, congratulate me on my birthday
month. Like, I was born during this lunar cycle. Like, what do you...
Yeah.
So I don't, you say that it's a problem I don't think it is.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people who are totally like okay with the idea of it. And so I don't know. I don't know why it is that I need to marginalize myself and marginalize these things. Like, I don't know what about it drives that way, like what that inner voice is. And it's, it's something I'm still working on therapy. Like my therapist, Holly, and I talk about it all the time. And she like forces me. There's been a few things that I've done, like when I had my first like real big international gig, like when I spoke like in Europe, she was like, you need to celebrate this.
Absolutely.
Like, this is something you've wanted to do. You did it. You need to like take some time to reflect on it and celebrate it and not minimalize it. Not say like, well, there's probably somebody else that they booked, but they were busy. And it was COVID, so they couldn't get somebody from this country to go. So you're the third choice. Or like, don't stop talking, like stop having that conversation. And celebrate the achievement, celebrate the victory. And so it's still a huge challenge for me. And I think it's all internal dialogue systems.
Yeah.
And it probably stems from family systems that, that were in my family of like, if you got straight A's, it was cool.
Right.
What you're supposed to do.
Right.
We're not, you don't get a Happy Meal because you got a straight A's in your report card. Like,
right.
You do what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah.
And so those systems kind of come in early. And so the problem with that is that creates an achievement cycle that can never fulfill what you need. It's like, I'd celebrate it if it was this.
Right.
And it's like, if you just live your life that way, it's like, I did celebrate it if I was elected president of the United States, right? It's like, all right, you can't get to the point where you achieve high enough to meet the celebration expectation of this harsh internal critic. And so for those of you listening that are internal critics of yourselves, like, it's a really hard way to live your life.
I would, difficult. And I'm not an expert on this at all. I've learned so much from you, but like, I do know one thing for me, self-talk is the worst. Yeah. First of all, I can't even make sense of me talking to someone else. And then when I'm talking to myself, it spirals. It never goes into so for me, I've got to be talking to someone, and we've talked about therapy is really important.
Yeah, sure.
If you're not going to do therapy, then you got to have somebody, a coach, a confidant.
So I talked about this with Jerry Gottlieb last week.
Yeah.
Is that a coach, great, a friend, right? We only need friends that we vent to.
For sure.
That's awesome. And you have a friend that you can call and just unload whatever it is. That's fine, but like at some point, you can't just keep unloading on that one, one confidant or coach or whatever. Like, you aren't, no offense, you're not trained as a therapist.
Right.
And so it's like, the idea for this came from, I went to get my hair cut.
Okay.
And I love my hairstylist. He's a great guy. His name's Mauricio. He does drag.
Okay.
He's like in drag competitions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He's the greatest guy. And when you walk into his salon, he has a sign that says, "The therapist is in."
Oh, wow.
I.e., like he's the hairstyle, he's a therapist, right? That like people vent him or whatever. It's like, yeah, but should not be your therapist. That's the guy that cuts your hair.
Right.
And if you're relying on him for therapy,
that's
you're not getting
good.
therapy, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're unloading, which is beneficial, no doubt about it. But the most valuable therapy sessions I have aren't where I'm just like, and then this, and then that, and then this. It's like where Holly stops you and was like, all right, hold on a second. Let's think about that. Like, why did you react that way?
Right.
What was this? Where did that come from? Oh, that connects back to this, right? Like, they're trained that way, right? Like they're trained to like find those connections and find those patterns and identify them and help reshape the way that we think and things like that. Like, so a consultant or a coach can't do that.
Right.
A therapist can't do that. And I'm not saying don't have that personal connection with your consultant or your coach, or don't have that connection with your hairstylist, but like, you still need to have somebody in your life who's professionally trained to handle these things.
For sure.
And to not just listen to you talk for an hour, but to give it, to give information and feedback and systems back to you, right? And so, I get, as a consultant and a coach, you're saying like, I can help be part of that for you, and you absolutely can. Yeah. But you can't be the only person that they have, and they need a professional, right? And so,
well, and I would say as a coach consultant, I don't want that responsibility.
That's not what you're supposed to do.
That's not my job. Like, I'll listen to you, and and then I'll tell you, like, you need to talk to somebody about that. Let's get back to why we're working.
Like, that is a hard conversation to have with someone who's paying you.
For sure.
To be a consultant or a coach for their practice. And if you just tell them like, I think you need professional help, it's like, tough convo, right?
It is.
But if you can actually get them to do it, I think it will not only change. Here's the thing about my therapy journey. It's not only changed the way I feel about myself, and it's not perfect. I'm not there. Right. It's also changed how I communicate with people.
Yeah.
That doesn't end when I step foot in my office. That carries into my office. It carries into how I communicate with my staff.
Right.
How I communicate with my patients. How I communicate with people in my industry, right? And so that's the thing about therapy is it permeates your whole life, right? And I've had this conversation before. It's like when like in dentistry, right? We have a treatment plan,
right?
You need 6 restorations and 3 implants. You work towards the treatment plan, and at some point you're done.
Yeah.
Right. There's always maintenance, right? Like, when are you done getting your teeth cleaned?
Never.
When you don't have teeth anymore, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And then we've all failed somewhere along the way. Like, when are you done with like therapy? And for some people, well, I mean, for some people it may, for some people it may be. If there's one or two traumatic experiences that you're trying to work through, like, there may be that. Like, you may be able to work for some time and get to a place where you're good. But I think for me, honestly, like, I don't know if I'll ever be done with it. And I think that's okay. One thing that I was saying, I admitted this to my therapist the other day. And this is confessional probably more than anything, but I said to her, like, for the entire week, every minute that I'm in my office, and even beyond that now, with messages and emails and texts and all that stuff, it's just, my day is a series of answering other people's problems. So solve this problem, solve this problem, solve this problem. And if I solve enough problems, I get to go home and pet my dog and hug my wife, right? Mm-hmm. And that's just the goal every day. How many problems do I need to solve to where I'm done? Right. But for that 1 hour a week, I'm someone else's problem. And I don't have to be the answer.
There you go.
I don't have to answer a problem or find a solution. For 1 hour a week, someone finds a solution for me.
Right.
And that solution may just be listening. It may be feedback. We may do EMDR, whatever it is. But for that 1 hour a week, I'm no longer solving everyone's problems.
I love it.
And it's super valuable.
You are putting words to something that really needs words. It's a subjective. I still would say it's very subjective. It's a deep subjective pain right now.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, I don't have any answers, but somebody's got to put voice to it.
I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to share my journey, and that's what it is, sharing my journey.
You're a hero in so many different ways. Now, speaking of journeys, I know you got to go. You got to tell us about the ride home. Okay, you said you have a story about the ride home. Yeah. Do you have to leave?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Tell us about the ride home.
So I'm in San Antonio. It's 3.5 hours away from Houston.
Okay.
I mean, by the time you go through TSA and then fly here and get the Uber here, I was like, it takes just as long to fly as it does to drive. It's like, I'm going to drive. So what is today? Friday?
Friday.
On Wednesday night, I had a webinar with AACA.
Okay.
That was at 8 o'clock. So I finished that webinar at 9, left my office probably 9:15 to start driving here.
Okay.
Get in the car, start driving here. This isn't a humble brag. I drive a Tesla. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying that because it's sort of important to the story. And also, I just want everybody to know how much I love the earth. Right? And if you're not driving a Tesla, like, what did the earth ever do to hurt you?
Yeah. Now, I don't have one, but it can drive itself.
That's the deal.
That's really the number one benefit.
In the city, it's not as effective and not as great, but on the highway, it's great.
Yeah.
So I'm on autopilot, is what they call it.
Okay.
And I'm just cruising at 85 miles an hour.
Now, I got to ask you, that freaks me. Is it truly autopilot?
No, you have to keep your hands on the wheel, and if you don't, it will turn off. So you can't just like, I'm going to chill in the back seat, like working on my PowerPoint and take a nap. No, you've got to have hands on the wheel and be alert.
Okay.
And you have to interact with the wheel every couple of minutes. It changes, but they want you to it makes sure that you're touching the wheel.
Okay.
So that you can take over if you need to.
All right.
So I'm cruising 85. I'm somewhere probably 40 miles west of Houston on I-10, which is a big interstate highway. And cruising along, and there's something in the road, and I'm at going 80. I've got an 18-wheeler on one side and a shoulder on the other, but the shoulder is they're doing a little road work, so it's 4 inches or 3 inches lower. And so I'm like, shit, I can't swerve right because there's a 18-wheeler. And if I swerve left, I'm afraid of whatever. So I'm like, I am hoping it's cardboard or a box.
So you're just going to go, you're going to hit it.
I mean, it was I'm going 80, 85 miles an hour. It's I see it, it's dark, it's night, it's midnight at this point.
Wow.
And I hit it. And it was not a piece of cardboard.
What was it?
A dead hog.
A hog?
A hog.
That's not a small.
No.
Holy moly.
And immediately.
Did you hit it straight on? Right over?
On the right-hand side, the passenger side of my vehicle is the tire went out. And I thought it was a double blowout.
Okay.
But it was, the Tesla's the air suspension system, right? Whatever it did, whatever the damage it did, it blew that system out. And so my car immediately went like this. And the alerts come up. It's you can't pull over the not drivable. Please stop driving, right?
Right.
So I pull over off to the side of this midnight and
Holy moly.
Just on some stretch of I-10 between San Antonio and Houston. And so I called 911 and they sent a cop out and he was like, yeah, you're gonna have to have it towed. And so I had it towed. And so the cop is like, well, where are you going? And And I was like, I'm going to Houston. He's like, I can't take you to Houston.
Yeah.
He's like, can you take me to Katy? Katy's like a suburb of Houston. It's like the westernmost suburb of Houston. And he's like, I can't take you to Katy. It's out of our county.
Okay.
He's like, I can take you to Brookshire, which is like 10 miles away. So I'm like, all right. He's like, there's a La Quinta there. I was like, all right, I'll get a La Quinta. I'll stay at the La Quinta and then like figure out how to get in the morning. I'll call somebody. I'll figure it out. So he takes me there. He drops me off. The wrecker came and got the car. And he takes me to Brookshire. And I'm like, well, or yeah, whatever the name of the town. I think it's Brookshire. And so I'm like, well, let me just check Uber and see. Like maybe I can get an Uber to Katy. And then from Katy, maybe I can get another Uber into downtown Houston. And I found an Uber that was like, I put in to come to this hotel, and 6 minutes, it was like pretty much immediately, Uber accepted. 6 minutes later, the guy was there and he drove me all the way into Houston.
Oh, that's awesome.
And you want to know what the fare was?
What?
$40.
Come on.
I paid $40 to go like 4 miles in Chicago before, right? Or New York City, like to go from Midtown to like downtown. I paid $57. $40 to go like 50 miles.
I hope you left a good tip.
I gave him a $40 tip.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So, so now I have to fly home because my car is at some collision center here in Houston. So like yesterday in between lectures, I was like dealing with the car insurance company.
Yeah. And
then Teslas are weird because you have to go to a Tesla certified collision center, and it's a stupid, like it's a mess.
How did the hog get in the road? Did it fall off a truck?
No, I'm sure it was a wild hog that had crossed the road.
Okay.
Somebody else hit it and I guess hadn't reported it, and so it was just there. And they must have just hit it because it was pretty.
I've had those
meaty
moments. You're like, something's in the road. I could swerve, but that's probably gonna be more dangerous.
Worse. So
glad you're okay.
God, what a mess.
Oh.
The worst part about it was at midnight. I was like, I'm not going to call my wife and wake her up. I'm fine. There's no reason to worry her. There's nothing she can do. She's 3 hours away.
Right.
So I wake up the next morning and she sends me a panic test. Are you okay?
Yeah.
And I was like, why do you ask? And she said, because there's an email in our email from the car insurance company asking you to complete your claim. So what's going on? And it's like, all right, let me call you and tell you what happened.
You're not going to believe this, honey.
Yeah. So, so that was fun.
Good stuff. Dude, thank you so much. I know you got to roll. And
this is always fun.
I always enjoy having you on. So
fun.
I'm going to just encourage you guys, make sure you follow Josh, check Josh out. Not only you're an amazing speaker, you need to celebrate more. You're a freaking great human being.
You are.
Fantastic comedian. So, I mean, you get
amateur.
No, not at all. So cool.
Technically, yes. I've never gotten paid. The Galler deal didn't pay me to do stand-up, so
you should.
I'm still an amateur. I still have my amateur eligibility.
I don't believe you. You're a pro. OG, man.
Thanks, man. Good to see you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. Keep tuning in as we're gonna have many more guests today on the floor at SmileCon, and we'll see you guys soon. Have a great day, everybody.